All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the Supreme Court case that I believe they're hearing arguments about today, where there's a football coach who was released from his service. He was fired from his job because he was praying at the, I believe, 50-yard line. I don't know anything about football. I know there's 100 yards in a football field, so I guess 50 yards is right in the middle. But in any event, I know about prayer, I know about religion, and I know about the Constitution, and also, excuse me, I was going to try to pause it, but I don't edit videos, so I don't have time for that. There's a turkey over there, that's cool. So anyway, he lost his job, and and I saw an article where some left-wing commie was saying, how will the Supreme Court uphold the rights of Christians over everybody else? And that was, the worry that they're going to do that. Well, that's not how that works. There's no idea of different rights for different groups. Everybody's the same. So, just like this football coach who happens to be a Christian could pray at the 50-yard line, a Muslim coach could also pray at the 50-yard line, take out his prayer mat and his prayer rug and pray. It's the same thing. There's not different rules for Christians and different rules for other religions. And so, therefore, there's absolutely nothing wrong here with this. There's no threat to any minority group here by a Christian praying at the 50-yard line. It's not a threat to Jews, not a threat to Muslims. First of all, any self-respecting Jew should be in yeshiva, not in public school. And the same thing, I would think, a good Muslim should go to madrasa, a good Catholic should go to Catholic school, a good Protestant should go to a Protestant Christian school. I mean, Catholics also Christian, but I know they call them Christian schools in the Protestant communities. This whole idea of public schooling is really, like Obama said, he said it's socialism. And it's very problematic. It's really destroying the core of everything that America's all about. And this man is bravely standing up against this behemoth of the public school system that's destroying this country. And they fired him for standing up to them. And I hope he wins, because there's absolutely no threat to anybody else's liberty that this man has his liberty. It should be it doesn't hurt anybody. All this is, imagination on the part of the left, that they think somehow it's hurting people who believe differently to hear something that they disagree with. So, and the Establishment Clause means exactly what it says. The Establishment Clause means that Congress shall not establish one religion. That's all it means. Meaning to say, like in England, they have the Church of England. There's not supposed to be a Church of America, but rather all the different denominations, all the different churches, all the different synagogues, all different mosques, all the different, the atheists have the Society for Ethical Humanism, which is the atheist churches. All these different churches, the Wiccans can have their covens, and the Asatru can have their Troth, and the Native Americans can have their tribes. Everybody has their own thing. And that's what it means, that there's no establishment religion. doesn't mean that we're trying to. I know that's how it's been interpreted, but that's not what it means. What it means is that there's not just one main religion for the federal government, because under the Constitution, the states were allowed to have, and local governments were allowed to have their own religions, and they did so historically. And the Supreme Court had no right to change that. Each state that's overstepping the state's rights when the Supreme Court interpreted that that these laws apply to other governments under the federal government. That's not at all what it means. Now, the truth of the matter is that the various states eventually adopted into their state constitutions this establishment. But under the Constitution, as we have it, states have had their own religions. And local governments, and that is what the Constitution says. And the states would have to disestablish on their own. It's not even really supposed to be something like this. It was never supposed to be a federal issue. The issue is it's federal because this man is suing to get his job back or get some kind of reparations because his job was terminated because of his exercise of his religious freedom, which is proper. But nonetheless, the First Amendment really only applies to the federal government, and the state and local governments have to devise their own things. Now, again, I understand that the Supreme Court changed that because they were legislating from the bench, but they were mostly wrong about these things, meaning, and they always established that as their opinions, the opinion of the court. It really wasn't meant to be the law of the land, meaning the first time when the Supreme Court actually established their opinion that the First Amendment applies to state and local governments was a case that was brought up in New Jersey, where the Ku Klux Klan, the Democrats, wanted to discriminate against the Catholics. And so they were upset that in New Jersey they were giving school busing to Catholic schools. And the court went to the Supreme Court, and by that time, even though FDR wasn't able to pack the court the way he wanted to by adding seats, but by mere virtue of the fact that he'd been there so long, he pretty much got all his people in there who followed his ideology. Plus, even though this was already after FDR was gone, a lot of them had been changed by the fear that he would destroy the court through court packing. So the damage was done. And they said that their opinion was that indeed the Establishment Clause applies to the states and local governments. However, they also said that their opinion was that providing school busing equally to private schools and public schools from public school funds was not a violation of the Establishment Clause. So why they had to mention that was their opinion is very strange, because it was really irrelevant to the case at hand, other than to establish for future cases, meaning what eventually, when in the 1960s, when the Supreme Court got rid of the prayer in the public schools, even though the prayers that were in the public schools were devised by a team of Catholic, Protestant, and Jewish clergy to be non-offensive to anybody. And some heretical person of Jewish ancestry had to fight this. And this is what really started the downward spiral of this great country. And we had some returns to decency with President Reagan and President Trump, but now they stole the election, and we're all suffering from this. So that's what we're dealing with here. So in any event, the idea should be looked at, and hopefully this football coach should win his case, because he's not forcing anybody to pray with him. He just wanted to say his prayer. And if there was a Jewish kid who wanted to say Shema Yisrael or whatever, there's a Muslim kid who wanted to say Allahu Akbar. We have to embrace everybody. This whole idea of hating the majority and seeing the majority as oppressive is counterproductive, because what it winds up doing is putting us all in peril. And that's what really the goal is. Meaning, once they attack the Christian majority, then the Jewish and Muslim minorities are next. Similarly, when they try to attack small Jewish minorities, Hasidic communities, and so forth, the left often has us in their crosshairs. Right now, we see a Hasidic lady from Crown Heights, a Lubavitcher Hasidista, who's being attacked, and her life is in danger because of these evil people on the left from Washington Post and others doxing her, calling her some kind of foreign agent, a Hasidische Frau. So this is the world we live in, unfortunately. We have to hope and pray for restoration and return to decency, normalcy, and freedom and liberty. Thank God we still have at least the Supreme Court to be a check and balance to make sure things don't get too crazy. So let's hope and pray that we'll have some kind of restoration, and everything will go back to normal soon, because it's really, really scary right now what's going on there. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you all later, right? All right. How do I turn this thing on?